Most buyers, they don't realize that they've made a mistake until it's too late. And it's not when they get the keys. It's not when they pop the champagne open on the balcony either, celebrating their new purchase. It's typically a few months later when the bills start to pile up, or, maybe the noise from upstairs starts to wear thin, or the reality that that perfect little unit maybe isn't so ideal after all. And then they start to wonder if maybe they rushed into it too quickly. And I see this more times than I can count. And it's not because people are careless. It's because nobody teaches you what you really need to look out for, especially when it's your first time buying a home. Listen, I've helped countless people avoid some very expensive mistakes. And sadly, I've also watched others learn the hard way. And so in this video, I want to walk you through the top 5 mistakes that I see first-time buyers make, and more importantly, how to avoid every single one of them. And these tips, these are the kind of things that separate smart buyers from the ones who end up stuck feeling buyer's regret. So you want to make sure you stick around until the end of this video so that you've got everything you need to know to buy with confidence, to protect your money, and to make sure that your first home, it actually works for you and not against you. And if you are thinking about buying soon and you would like some help navigating this entire process, feel free to book a call with me. There is a link in the description box below, and we can get started with that conversation. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Number 1 is letting your emotions override smart decisions. And this one, it kind of sneaks up on you. The typical situation is you might walk into that new home, maybe it's a condo, and right away you picture your couch up against the window, or the espresso machine maybe on the counter, and you and your partner watching the city lights from the balcony. And then boom, you are going to be emotionally sold. And the thing is that when you get emotionally attached too early, logic tends to leave the room. And so before you get too excited, you need to slow down, okay? You need to slow down and run the numbers. So ask yourself questions like, what have similar units sold for recently in this building or maybe in the neighborhood? Also ask yourself, what are the condo fees and what do they actually cover? What's the stratus financial situation? And are there any special levies or special assessments that are coming up in the near future? Okay. And you want to try and understand the seller's position and their level of motivation, and also pay attention to how long the home has been sitting on the market. And if you happen to find yourself in a seller's market or in a bidding war, that's when emotions really take over and logic, it usually goes out the window. So it's really important that you know your walkaway number and that you stick to it. Which brings us to point number 2, which is not knowing when to walk away. And this one, it can be tough because if you've already made an offer when you're already emotionally attached to a property and then the seller counters back, you're going to feel that pressure because you've already mentally moved into that home and you've already pictured yourself living there and loving your life, right? But when the seller, if they won't budge or, they're being unreasonable or, maybe playing hardball, it's going to be really tough for you. And, chances are you're going to want to keep on going, increasing your offer because, again, in your mind, you've already emotionally committed. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. So, just remember, don't chase the deal, okay? If the deal feels one-sided or, it starts getting uncomfortable, be willing to walk away. And here's the thing. Sometimes walking away, it's going to give you more power than you might think. And you know what? I've seen sellers come back many times, sometimes days later, ready to make a deal. And at that point, now you have more leverage, right? And so just understand that even if they don't come back, something better or at least more financially sound, it usually will come along. So remember, just because you love a home doesn't mean it's going to be the right move. Number 3 is underestimating the real cost of owning a home. And, a lot of buyers, what they do is they'll budget for the mortgage and the down payment, and they think that that is enough. And the truth is it's not. So here are a few other things that you really need to factor in. So you're going to want to look at closing costs. So things like, the legal fees, the inspection, moving fees, lender appraisal, all that sort of thing. You also need to factor in the monthly strata fees. So if you're moving into a condo or a townhouse, there's going to be strata fees. You need to factor in property tax, insurance, utilities. So things like your heat, electricity, water, gas, internet, and so on, right? And then there's the real big one here, and that is ongoing maintenance and repairs. Now you might be thinking, but hey Glenn, I'm going to be buying a condo and that stuff's all covered, right? And yeah, some of it is, but stratas only cover so much. And if the building has poor financials or maybe deferred maintenance, guess who's going to be on the hook for potential special levies? It's going to be you. And that's why you always want to make sure that you review the depreciation report and go over all of the strata documentation before making your offer. All right. So make sure that you budget for all of those other things, or be ready for a few nasty possible surprises later on down the road. Number 4 is skipping the home inspection. And I know, if you're thinking about moving into a condo, a lot of people think, I don't need an inspection. The building's going to take care of all of that sort of thing. But I'll tell you, skipping the inspection, that can be a big gamble, because even in a condo, there can be some big ticket issues, whether it's inside the unit or in the building itself. So, things like outdated electrical or plumbing issues, hot water tank. So a lot of condos, not all of them, but a lot of them have their own hot water tank in the unit. So does that hot water tank need repair or replacement? Poor soundproofing, moisture problems, especially near the windows in older buildings. And then there's the building itself, right? So a good inspector, they can spot signs of deferred maintenance, of leaks, envelope issues, and things that you would never catch on your own. They've got special tools like moisture meters, for example, that can read the moisture behind a wall, things that you cannot see. So the bottom line is this: don't skip it, all right? It's a small cost for peace of mind, and it can save you thousands of dollars later on down the road. And number 5 is buying based on what you qualify for, not what you can actually afford. And this one, it's subtle, right? But it is dangerous. Your bank or your broker, they're going to tell you what you qualify for based on your gross income. But you know what? You don't live on your gross income. You live on your net income, which is everything after, right? Everything that hits your bank account after taxes, CPP, and everything else that gets deducted off of your paycheck. So just because your lender says that, you might be approved for $600,000, it doesn't mean you should spend it. A much better rule is to keep your total housing costs, things like your mortgage, your strata, your tax, the insurance, all to around 25 to 30% of your net after-tax income. And that way, you've got breathing room, okay? And you can handle any surprises. And you're not stuck in a place that you can't comfortably afford. Remember, the goal here isn't just to buy, it's to buy smart and to set yourself up for long-term financial freedom. And if you want help figuring out what's realistic for your situation, you can download my Mortgage Secrets Guide. There is a link below, and it's going to help you avoid all of those common traps and also potentially save you several thousands of dollars over time. All right, now there's one more big mistake that I see a lot of first-time homebuyers make, and it's not about the home itself. It's more about timing, and it can mean the difference between building equity or falling behind in the market. I'm going to break it all down in this next video, and if you have any questions or you want to chat more about your specific situation, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video.